Okay, my name is Eric Duso. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to defeat a block as a defensive lineman playing football. I'm currently a high school football coach, and the position that I coach on defense is a defensive lineman. So I'm going to teach you today how to destroy a block, get off a block, and then pursue to the football. So let's just start with phase one of this of this skill, and that is your stance and alignment as a defensive player. I will be using examples from my current team as if we're in a film study. So the first phase that we would talk about is how is our stance and are we aligned correctly? So the three things that I look for, as you can see here on the flow chart, are where are their feet at? Their feet should be shoulder width apart. Their weight should be balanced. They should not have too much weight forward. Their hips should be slightly lower than their eyes for good leverage, and their shoulders should be square, and their eyes are on the V of the neck as their initial key. So I have two angles of this play, and I'm going to focus on the two interior defensive linemen that my cursor is on right here. The defensive lineman here on the left has his hands below his chin, which is where I recommend a bigger player like him has his, so that he has his weight balanced. It's harder to see his feet, but if we go to this, this view, which is a drone view of the same play, you see his feet are a little bit wider than shoulder width apart because he is a very large player. Now, this other player right here, the left defensive tackle, he is a little smaller player, so you see his feet are more shoulder width apart. One of the key things here that both of them will do, and you can see the face mask of this player right here, his eyes are definitely on the key, the V of the neck, whereas I would like to see this number 78, this player right here, have his eyes up more so that he could read his initial key. Their hands, both of them should be down. This will allow them to shoot their hands as we get into different phases. So again, here you can sort of see the weight of where the hands should be for 78. It's harder to see the second guy. This man right here is a smaller defensive lineman. You can see his hands are a little bit further forward because he is a little bit more athletic than the two guys inside. All right, so that's the first phase, is we got to make sure our feet are shoulder width apart. I always tell them, make sure that you don't have too much weight forward. That is a critical coaching key, because if you have too much weight forward, you will not be able to step in phase two. Okay, so let's go to phase two, and this is our engagement and our initial contact, as you can see in the red here. Things I'm looking for in phase two, are they explosive? And they do that by taking a 6-inch first step, and they should widen and quicken their feet as they have contact. Their hips should explode up and into the blocker, and then their arms, they should shoot their hands to the top of the numbers of the offensive player, and the key to that will be thumbs up, elbows together, and they hear me say that over and over and over again about thumbs up, elbows together. Make sure that gets their elbows together, that makes sure their hands don't get too far outside of their body. So let's see how they do on the first version of this clip. Again, I'm going to watch mainly these two inside here, see how they do. All right, so 78, his hands do not go to the inside of the numbers. His hands are too wide. He does shoot his hands, which allows him to get a little bit of separation, but I would like to see his hands shoot to the inside of the number. Now, 56 on the other side, if I'm looking at the other side of the defense here, if I pause it, the other side of the defense, the other side, his hands do shoot inside. He takes a quick 6-inch step, which is harder to see in this view, but in the next view, in the other view, it's easier to see. But his hands shoot, again, as we're talking about our task analysis, and the hips explode up into the blocker. All right, so let's watch this view one more time. All right, so I'd like to see a little bit more hip explosion out of 78. Again, it's harder to do with as big as he is, to have a lot of explosion, but he does a decent job at it. As we go to this view of it, and we'll see their hands and their feet a little bit better in this view. Okay, you see that 78 takes a quick 6-inch step. You can see his right foot gets pick it up and put it down is what I tell him. Right foot, pick it up, put it down. All right, now 56 on the other side right here. His feet widen and quicken. Now, I would like him, what I told him in the film is that his feet need to stay wide and stay quick. That way he does not get off balance if he does get a double team or some other type of block. But both of them have decent position with their hands. 56 especially, like I said before, 78's hands get a little wide. But that's just mostly because of the way he's shaded on the defender here. They both do a decent job at widening and quickening their feet. And their hips do come up out of the block. All right, so let's pause that there. And let's go to the next phase. The next phase is how we shed the block. So after we've shot our hands via the neck, we try to hit for the inside of the numbers, and I'm on the yellow part of the flow chart here. We want to continue to widen and quicken our feet and have a good base underneath of us. Our hips should drive through contact. Of course, the offensive player is trying to block us too, so we got to make sure that our hips and our feet keep going through the contact. And the most important part of phase 3, and really of any block destruction, is how we snag the blocker. The snag is the key term that we use here. It is a violent push on the offensive player. All right, so my hands push, and then I pull the offensive player. We call it putting him in your pocket. And each defensive player has a pocket that they're supposed to put them in so that they maintain their gap integrity. So as we go back to our examples here from this view, okay, so we have 78. You can see he pulls. I'd like to see him get a little bit more push initially, but he does pull. I like to tell them get their face mask to the ground, and you can see his offensive player, his face mask snaps down. That's very good snag technique there. And he does put him in the correct pocket. 56 on the other side, you can see he gets a little bit better push, but his pull is not as good because he does not get his hands extended all the way out. I do not see much face mask going to the ground here. He does put him in the pocket, but I would like for him to put him in the other pocket. His gap is to the other side. But overall, they both do a pretty good job of destroying the block. As we go to this view here, again, I'm looking to see it. Do their feet widen and quicken? And then from there, are they violent with their push and pull? Again, you can see 52. The numbers come down. The face mask comes down here on the offensive player. Boom, right there. 56 here, playing defense. Hands inside, thumbs up, elbows together. He does get off the block. And then I would like to see him snag this player a little bit more violently. If I'm going to coach him to be perfect, then that would be my coaching point there. But both of them are doing a pretty strong job for a high school player. This is one of the more difficult techniques to master for a high school player, is the push-pull technique. Now, let's get to phase 4 here. Phase 4 is our pursuit and our finish. So as we have snagged violently in phase 3, I'm talking about this one where my cursor is right here, then we got to get our inside foot past the hip of the blocker. And 56 does a really nice job of this in the video. Our hips should clear the hip of the offensive player. We got to open our hips, and I'll tell you what I mean by that as we get to the video. And then our arm should rip through the defender by punching the sky. The key phrase that I always use with that is to punch the sky. And I always tell them they got to work in threes, because usually an offensive player will try to hold them if they get snagged. So they really got to punch, punch, punch 3 times. And if they do get held, then it's easier for the officials to see that, where a penalty would get called. And then finally, you got to pursue flat off the back of the defender toward the ball carrier. So let's see how our guys did here. Again, we'll start from the beginning. All right, widen and quicken the feet. All right, as they get by, they should pursue flat to the defender. They have effectively destroyed the block. And then as they get here, they should run flat to the ball carrier. All right, so I should see them pursue to the ball. We emphasize pursuit in our program. And especially for big guys, if they pursue to the ball flat and hard, then they can cause turnovers. Now you'll really be able to see the feet, especially the inside foot of 56 here, get by the hip of the defender. He does a really nice job of this. Right there. You can see his inside foot gets by the hip of the defender, and that clears him. I'd like to see 78 be clearing him right now. His right foot should be stepping forward on this next step. All right, so I want to see him on that clearing bring his inside foot. Here he brings his outside foot more. I got to see him bring that inside foot, and that will ultimately defeat that block a little bit better. They both get flat. Now, I always tell them that once we get off flat, we should be right here. Right here, we should be getting flat. Once we have crossed the defender, the ball is declared to a side, we should be getting to that side as quickly as we can. And let's see how our pursuit is here. They run, and we got to get those big guys running. I would tell them, to me, that does not look like a sprint. I know big guys get tired easier, so it's sort of hard for them to get the mindset they have to sprint where they're going. But that's why we tell them we have substitutions. You know, you can sprint as fast as you can, and then you can come out if you get too tired. All in all, block destruction is probably the most important thing for a defensive player, any defensive player, and it becomes even more important the closer you play to the line of scrimmage, because you're going to get blocked every play. A cornerback or somebody playing safety does not have the same ratio of having to engage and destroy blocks as a defensive player does. So block shedding, pursuit to finish, engage, physical contact. So if we go through this again, number one, our stance, feet are about shoulder width apart. The bigger you are, the wider your feet should be, just to make sure you're balanced. Your hips got to be slightly lower. I like to see a good flat back. So if we're talking about these guys again here, you can see they have flat backs again in phase one. Try to be able to put a fine china plate on there. And then their shoulders are square. Their eyes are on the V of the neck. Again, I'd like to see 78s more. 56 on the top side. As we go, you can see his face mask or eyes. All right. Phase two was engaging and making initial contact. Got to be explosive with this first step. All right. So as we go here, again, explosive steps, quick steps. You want to get those feet, pick them up and put them down so that the offensive player doesn't get leverage. All right, we are going to violently snag and shed, get our inside foot past, and then once we see the ball declared, we should go and run to the football. All right, that would be block destruction 101.